So the film's running, so you all gotta be on good behavior now.
No chance.
My name's Steve, I'm a nurse down the road with ACAC, Atlantic Coast Athletic Club, who used to be the MAC. And so I was asked to come up here and talk to you all about cholesterol and blood pressure. So I'll give you some information. Probably your best take home will be some of the charts in the handout. When you get your cholesterol back, your scores back from your testing, it'll give you a good range of where you are. So we'll go ahead and I'll just give you a brief overview of cholesterol and the blood pressure. All right, so cholesterol, what is it? It's a waxy substance that is found in the body. It's not necessarily a bad thing. Your cells have a membrane around them, and they use cholesterol as part of the wall of that membrane. It's also used by the cells to function. It's used in making the bile that helps to digest fat, and it's used in the making of vitamin D. So there's good uses for it. It's like anything else. You know, we need fat. We need some carbo in our diet, and so it's only a problem when there's too much of it. Where it comes from, some people just are too good at making it. Our liver makes it, and you may have a person that's got a great lifestyle, doing everything right, and their cholesterol might be through the roof because their liver just makes too much of it. It's genetics. It's luck of the draw. Cholesterol, when we get it in our food, it can only come from animal sources. It always tickles me. I'll see you get like a box of crackers, cholesterol free. Well, yeah, unless there's a herd of crackers out there somewhere. Yeah, if it's not an animal, you ain't going to get cholesterol from it. So, like eggs. What's that?
An animal cracker.
Oh, that's a
Bang, you got
He wants to go home. He's gonna be sitting here and crack
Back to the jokes, right? So, like eggs, meats, and dairy products are the examples of. So you'll probably hear the term somewhere in your labs or whatever, lipoprotein. And all that means, lipo is fat, protein, and the cholesterol's got to join up with the protein in order to travel through the body, so that's where the lipoprotein comes from. So cholesterol is made up of different types of cholesterol. You've got HDL, that's high density lipoprotein, that's the good stuff. What that does, that picks up the bad stuff and helps to return it to the liver where it's wasted out of the body through the GI tract. The LDL, that's the low density, that's the bad stuff, that's the stuff that tends to clog up. And then you have VLDL, very low density. And that's the really bad stuff. It's got a lot of triglyceride in it, the real fatty stuff. The way I remember it, high density, I think of something solid, something that's got some substance to it, a good thing. Low density, think of mucus. You know, just nasty, gnarly stuff that gets in the blood vessel and just hangs around. So you want high density, you don't want the loose or the low density. Triglycerides, that's often included in the cholesterol. It's not technically cholesterol, but it is another type of fat. And when we eat something, and our body doesn't need the energy from that food right away, it stores it as a triglyceride. And then when the body needs it later, it gets it from there. If we have too much triglyceride, then it can lead to more fatty substance in our vessel. And triglycerides come from too much carb, low activity, smoking, overweight, all that good stuff to put us at risk. I'm not going to read the chart. I'll let you see it down there, but basically we'd like to keep our total cholesterol less than 200. And cholesterol is one of those things, you could be high and you'd never know it. I'm a fraud. I'm here talking to you guys about cholesterol, and I haven't had mine checked for a couple of years because I know it's probably 240 or more. So I've got my, yeah, really bad. So I've got my doctor's appointment set for next month. And I exercise, eat reasonably well, but I'm sure my cholesterol's high, so I wouldn't know unless I have it checked. So that's one of the good reasons to check it out. So you like it less than 200. The parts that make up the cholesterol, the low density lipoprotein, LDL, we like to keep that under 100. Now the HDL, that's the good stuff, so you'd like to get that above 60 if you could. And a good way to do that is with exercise. Exercise and lucky genes. Triglycerides, like the LDL, you like to keep that under 100. Again, when you get your results, you can look at them. All this stuff will make more sense. No need to memorize. The thing that it's not always straightforward. Say that your cholesterol number was high, say that you were 220, but let's say your HDL was 80. Well, those would actually be good numbers because your cholesterol total number has been superficially boosted by that good number. So that's why it's important to look at the ratio. So when they do the test, they'll look at like total cholesterol over the good stuff, and that number they like to be less than 3.5. Your bad cholesterol, LDL, and the triglyceride, that over your total HDL, they like that to be less than 2. So it's pretty simple. The way the cholesterol hurts us is that it gets laid in the blood vessel. And I don't know, for you guys who fish, like if you grab an eel and how oily that is and how it stays on you, or maybe the black grease that you guys might use on some of your equipment, it's just hard as hell to get off. And so when this cholesterol gets in your blood vessel, it's like that sticky stuff, and it's just hard to get it out. The HDL can do that in part, but just the good lifestyle is what really helps to reverse it. If it's there long enough, it becomes plaque. And that becomes like a hardened material, and there's not a whole lot you can do about that. So prevention is good, and just, getting moving as we go. It gets stuck in the vessel, takes up room, kind of clogs it up so the blood's not able to flow as easily. And so that's why cholesterol is a dangerous thing. It just really impacts your cholesterol, your circulatory system. Now, there's a bunch of different ways to treat a high cholesterol. One of the best things is to get moving, do something cardio, and it doesn't have to be fancy. Just walking can be useful, walking most days. What activity does, like the cardio, it helps to support a higher HDL level. So it helps to knock down the bad cholesterol. If you got to go on medicines, there's a lot of different classes there. There's statins. That's like your Lipitors, your simvastatin, very effective medication. The one thing that your doctor might do if you want a statin is to check your liver regularly, because since the liver makes the cholesterol, it affects liver function, so they want to make sure that they're not knocking it down too much. One of the side effects that most people complain about, if at all, would be muscle aches. So if you're on a medication and all of a sudden you find that, God, I'm just not feeling it, or things are have a harder impact on you physically, talk to your doctor. It could be that medication. Any questions on the cholesterol part?
Yeah, can you get it out of your body?
Can you get it out of your body? It's once you have plaque build up, at this point in time, it's hard to get it out. What you can do is by exercising, you can create some collateral pathways. It's sort of like the root of a plant. And the more ways that you're using it, you get these offshoots. So that really helps. It is reversible to some degree with the HDLs if it hasn't been there too long. And they're working on medicine now with the hopes that in the near future they'll be able to reverse the process.
Ain't that Lipitor supposed to break it down?
Well, no, what it does, it really prevents the creation of more cholesterol. Yeah. The cholesterol has an outside source and inside source. Outside source would be the dietary, and inside is what we make. So unfortunately, but I tell you, it is in the pipeline where, and God, if they came up with a medicine that actually broke these plaques up, it would revolutionize cardiology. It would change it. Bypasses would be a thing of the past. So, knock on wood. But the prevention's a big thing, and that's what you guys are doing. Grandson, by having the lectures and bringing people in, it's just promoting that lifestyle, because they're finding, golly, if we can prevent this stuff from happening, it's a whole lot easier than dealing with it when and should it happen. Anything else?
Yeah, that's everything.
Yeah. Now blood pressure, and I promise to be a good doobie. I love cardiovascular, so I'm not gonna bore you with too much detail. But blood pressure, what that is, the love dub. You got 4 chambers, so if you look at this diagram here, you got 4 chambers in your heart. The top 2 chambers squeeze at the same time, that's the love. And the bottom 2 chambers are the dub. And those are the big ones, those are the heavy duty pumps. The left side of your heart, when it gets the blood, it sends it out to your body. The right side of the heart, it receives the blood back from your body, oxygen's used up. It pumps it to your lungs. Then it swings around and comes back to the left side top that squeezes it down to the lower chamber, boom, and then that sends the oxygenated blood out to your body. So that's the love dub, and basically that's the blood pressure. There's 2 phases to that love dub. There's the systolic and there's the diastolic. All you need to know is the top number is the pressure when that lower chamber squeezes, when it's sending it out either to the lung or sending it out to the body. And the top, the love, that's when the top chambers are being filled and then sending it down to the big pump to go out. They used to say, well, it's more important the top number. And then they said, no, it's more important for the bottom number. And more the cardiologists are saying both numbers are important. Basically what happens, so you get that squeezing from the bottom chamber and it goes up. The blood pressure, it's really hemodynamic, or it's fluid dynamics. So if you've got a pump that is sending out fluid against high pressure, that pump has to work harder to overcome that pressure and get the fluid moving. So if you've got high blood pressure, that is, if the top number is high, then your heart's working hard to get that blood moving. The bottom is a little more complicated. So when the top chamber is squeezing so that it sends the blood down to the big distributors, that's when that top one is, and that's where the bottom number in your blood pressure, such and such over such and such, that's always lower. Like your average is 120/80, let's say. So 120 is when that bottom chamber is pumping up. The 80 is when the top chamber is filling and then sending it down. Now, what makes it important if that number is high? I'll ask you to look at this picture. The way that the heart, the heart's sending the blood out to the body. It doesn't send, it's not pumping to itself. So how's the heart muscle get the blood? Well, if you look at that picture, this where those 2 dark veins or arteries are coming out, that's the aorta. That's the big vessel. That blood is going out to the body. It's got the oxygen in it. And there's always a little bit of backflow. So it pumps, it goes up, and there's a little bit of backflow. These valves are always open. So it's sort of like a strainer. That blood comes back down, and then it'll strain through these vessels and feed the heart muscle. When that heart is, boom, the bottom chambers are clumping to send that blood out to the body. That muscle is tight. There can't be much blood flow. These vessels went inside the membrane around the heart. So when the top is going and the pressure's lighter, that's when that blood's supposed to be able to circulate around. If your pressure's too high, that blood has a hard time making it around the actual heart muscle, and you can have oxygen hunger that way. That is, it's having a hard time getting its own fuel. So that's why blood pressure is important. What can happen over time if that the top number is too high as that blood's trying to be sent out of the heart, then the heart muscle will grow. And that would seem like a good thing, right? All right, so I got a heart and the muscle's growing, so I got a bigger muscle. But no, see, the vessels don't change. And so you got the same distribution, the same vessels trying to feed a larger heart muscle. Heart attack is basically oxygen shortage to the heart muscle. So if that pressure is too high, if that muscle gets too big, then you're running the risk of just not being able to feed it. So that's why over a long period of time, blood pressure can be dangerous. Also, that blood is turbulent. So it's going through the blood vessels. And we were talking about that bad cholesterol, the LDL. It's mucousy, it's really loose, it's nasty stuff. So we have some real delicate structures going on in there. If that water, if that blood flowing through there is coursing too quickly, then it's going to groove your vessel. And it's like doing plaster work. So if you lay plaster down, you got to score the wall first, right? Give it something to stick to. So if your blood pressure is high, you're scoring the vessel wall, and you're giving that cholesterol something to stick to. So it's really kind of cool when you think about how the body works, because it's, you know, it's like we work out here. You know, it's just like a miniature system. And a lot of it, when you stop and think about it, it makes a lot of sense. A lot of this is common sense. So the thing with cholesterol, we have to watch that waxy stuff that we put into our system, because it's got to go somewhere. And like I say, I'm a fraud. You know, my cholesterol is high, and I might have to go on a statin. So I mean, all of us are vulnerable to this. Even people in the know. You know, sometimes we can be our worst enemies. And the blood pressure, you know, that can be dangerous too for those reasons. I mean, that just helps create a scenario of buildup and a weak muscle. Let me see if there's anything else I want to say about that. The good thing about it all is that the answers to anything is always the same. You got to keep moving, watch what you eat. You know, keep an eye on those blood pressure, keep an eye on those numbers. We don't know what they are. You know, we have to check. I had to get some rotator cuff surgery not long ago, and so I started watching my blood pressure because I didn't want to get knocked out of my exam because of my pre-op. And you know, every time I test like the machines at work or this or that, I say, oh, that's a little high, that's a little high. So how many times did I say, oh, that's a little high for me, before I finally got to my knucklehead skull? But that's not a little high for me, that's where my numbers are right now. So I started blood pressure pill a couple of months ago. So, you know, it's, you know, we just got to track these numbers. I really think that as we get older, our health programs become management programs, where we just kind of manage our health. We get that information and do what we need to do. That's all I got to say about that.
One question, and I go through this myself.
Yeah.
What causes, I mean, say your top number is relatively normal, what causes your bottom number to say be high when your top number is?
Yeah, you know, they call that a pulse width when they look at the difference between those numbers, and it could be a whole host of things. But so you're saying that top number's high and the bottom number
The top number is good. but the
is
bottom
good,
number
right?
is
And but the bottom number, it would just indicate that somewhere along that muscle just isn't completely relaxed. And so it may have something to do with just the muscle recruitment. There's a class of medicines called calcium channel blocker, and what it does, when the heart contracts, the amount of calcium that goes back and forth is a big factor as far as how hard it contracts. So in your case, who knows? I'm not a doctor, nurse, not doctor, but who knows? Maybe that heart muscle contracts harder than it needs to, and so maybe it never really relaxes enough.
Okay.
Yeah. Anything else?
Well, yeah, I got one more thing to say. Ain't
What do you
that,
got?
ain't that what when your high cholesterol is, when you ain't getting enough blood, doesn't that throw you into a heart attack?
So ask your question again.
I said, when your cholesterol is high
Yeah,
and your blood ain't flowing right,
yeah.
doesn't that throw you into a heart
That's
attack?
exactly right. I mean, a heart attack, that's what it is. It's just
Yeah, you
not
got
not enough blood getting there,
Not blood,
and that plaque can build up and it just forms a clot or, yeah,
All
yeah.
right, thanks.
You got it. You got it. Well, you guys are very patient. I appreciate it. It's late. Unless Heather's got something else and there's no question.
No, that's good. We're good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Nice to meet you.